Is Tuesday night, and I usually don't say what day it is or what time it is, but with Brandon Aiyuk news or whatever this is, things a fluid situation changing quickly. Mike Silver of the San Francisco Chronicle. I want to take you through some of what Mike wrote, much like on Monday night when Matt Mayoko had his piece, which was very insightful, that the Niners have a trade in place with the Browns or the Patriots, and the ball is in Aiyuk's court. Well, the ball has been in Aiyuk's court, I guess, for 24 hours. We've got a backcourt violation. I don't think he's taking a shot. I don't know what's going on, but I've got some ideas. So let's go through first the latest insight from Mike Silver of the Chronicle. He writes, this isn't a negotiation. It's a war of wills between the 49ers and their leading receiver. And right now, against all odds, Brandon Aiyuk may be winning. For months, we've heard nothing but the Niners have all the leverage. Since May, they've acted like it. According to a source familiar with the negotiations, the Niners made Aiyuk an offer a couple of weeks after the draft and haven't engaged since. We know at the time that was a very good offer. And we know this because Aiyuk said basically that was picking up my suit. Now, do not interpret this. Let me say, we got a lot to get through here, okay? But I wasn't going to say this yet, but I want to say this now. A few years ago, the Niners went through a situation that was a perfect example of sometimes people who know being wrong in the end, but it doesn't change the fact that they know information, that we should listen to what they have to say. I talk about this a lot. I don't want to lecture or preach, but it comes up a lot. And I do feel, honestly, some, I don't know, call it silly responsibility to share my perspective on the way people view what the media reports. Okay. And I know there's a lot of anti-legacy, long-time media. These people are just here to be a mouthpiece. These people are just here to play a side. Understand this. Okay. When, like it or hate it, when Matt Mayoko says something. Matt Mayoko is one of the 44 people that argue for candidates in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The media, not the people, but the entities in the media have cheapened the word insider. Okay? Insider means experience. Insider means insight. Insider means relationships. Tim Kawakami, just to pick another one. Kyle Shanahan does one podcast a year. It's Tim's. The example that I brought up, that I bring up all the time, is when the 49ers drafted Trey Lance. There were like 30 major true media insiders that said the 49ers are going to draft Mac Jones. And when they didn't draft Mac Jones, there was a wave of people that said, see, those people don't know. What I have said since the beginning, way back in that situation, the beginning of that situation, because I knew some of the other facts, was that those people were not wrong because they didn't know the way the 49ers were thinking. They were wrong despite knowing some of what the Niners were thinking. It just turned out they didn't have the whole picture, but they had part of the picture right. And I say that like when we go through what Silver wrote or what Mayoko wrote, it's not all there, okay? But pieces of the puzzle are there. And if you are interested in knowing the story of what's happening, you're doing yourself a disservice if you go, oh, that guy, he was wrong about Mac Jones. That guy is just a mouthpiece. You're doing yourself a disservice. I'm just telling you that, okay? So I'm going to continue on. Sorry for the soapbox. It's important information. I'm going to continue on. Here we go. So, for example, we've heard the Niners have all the leverage. According to a source, the Niners made him an offer a couple weeks after the draft and haven't engaged since. I think that was a good offer. We know that was a good offer because he almost took it. It was a good offer then. May not be a good offer now. Don't interpret that as they're not talking to the agent. That is not what's happening. Okay. Next up from Silver. Upon further review, it's the Niners who seem to be unnerved. They're on the verge of trading an ascending 26-year-old player as they head into a season in which they're desperate to win a Super Bowl. I think this is true. It certainly does appear like the 49ers are unnerved. Of course they're unnerved. You'd have to be unnerved to trade Brandon Aiyuk to the Browns, to the Patriots, to the Steelers. So yeah, they're definitely unnerved, right? This didn't happen like this with Nick Bosa last year. It's not happening right now with Trent Williams. Next passage. Why would Kyle Shanahan sign off on such an incongruous strategy? All right. Quite simply, according to multiple sources, the head coach is bothered by Aiyuk's behavior, from the receiver's conspicuous bro hugs to the perceived brooding, and he's willing to move on. He's saying Kyle is willing to move on. Whatever Aiyuk's intent, it's working. Sources indicate that the three teams that are willing to pay him more than the Niners' last best offer, all of which have discussed possible trades with the 49ers. So, we could say that's definitely the Browns and it's definitely the Patriots, although we'll get to the Patriots here in a second. And perhaps the Steelers. I think we take that to mean also the Steelers. Now, we don't know how much more. We don't know, is Brandon Aiyuk looking for $1 more? Is he looking for a spite trade? Is he looking for a lot more? What are the other factors involved? But I think the thing here that really gets everybody's attention is the line in the first paragraph. According to multiple sources, the head coach is bothered by Aiyuk's behavior, from the bro hugs to his perceived brooding and willing to move on. So this is where, when I'm talking about like a person knows, okay, this is what I'm talking about here. What's interesting is I think people will attach to the bro hugs because it sounds like the most ridiculous thing, right? Why would he be bothered by bro hugs? But the reason, if he's bothered by bro hugs, is almost assuredly that it's actually the first thing Mike writes, his behavior, okay, from the bro hugs to perceived brooding, and the brooding more than the bro hugs. My sense is that if Mike Silver made a list, if he found out every single thing that Aiyuk has done that pissed Kyle Shanahan off, that list would be longer than bro hugs and brooding. Okay? But he can't make a list. He can't give every piece of information he has. The information here that is relevant, because like, oh, what? Kyle is mad for bro hugs? That seems insane. Well, yeah, it is insane. He's not mad about bro hugs in a bubble. The information that's relevant is he's bothered. He's bothered. And so the question becomes, do the Niners want to keep him? Does John Lynch want to keep him? Is the team better with him? And if so, will they trade him because they can't reach a deal with him, or will they trade him because Kyle Shanahan's bothered? And how bothered is he? And how legitimate is it that he's bothered? We'll move on. Next. He's been hesitant, Aiyuk, about playing for the Patriots, the Browns, but that could change. Joining the Steelers, who as of Tuesday morning had not offered compensation in the Niners' liking. They got no receivers. He's carefully weighing the options. This is interesting. He's carefully weighing the options, considering which move would be the best for his young family and assessing the positives and negatives of each situation. If the Niners hope to create a fourth option, Aiyuk staying, they have a funny way of showing it. The first line of paragraph 2, he's carefully weighing the options, considering which move might be the best for his young family and assessing the positives and negatives of each situation. I think that it's possible that Aiyuk's actions are not quite as meticulous and thought out as carefully weighing the options, considering which move would be the best for his young family, assessing the positives and negatives of each situation. He may miss the moment if he takes too much time, right? Somebody asked me earlier on Tuesday if a team that's making an offer today, let's use the Browns, because I think the Browns are the most realistic outcome of all these teams here. If a team that's making an offer today could change their mind. And on one hand, you'd say, well, why would they do that? If the Browns want to trade Amari Cooper away so they can get Aiyuk, so they can extend him, so they can have this young receiver for the next 5 years, just shore up that position. What difference does a week make, right? And the only thing I would say is like, well, they could change their opinion of the guy over the course of a week if they get a window into what they view as maybe a more complicated player than they perceive him to be. Now, for the most part in the NFL, in these situations, that's not what happens, right? Teams understand players are disgruntled, and then the second you pay them, they're gruntled, and everything's fine, and it works out. And the second we pay him, nothing will be weird. But you don't necessarily have that kind of time, right? The urgency picked up a little bit on Monday, or at least the Niners, I think, tried to raise the urgency on Monday, either on the Steelers or on Brandon Aiyuk by saying, let's make a decision here. And part of that is a result of some of the unnerved frustration that the 49ers are feeling. But it doesn't feel to me like this is Aiyuk sitting back, 3D chess. Now, I do think he's doing, like, if you want to get traded, pissing off the coach, who's also in charge of personnel, is smart. It's smart. That is the way. Like, if people are like, hey, you don't like your situation, right? And teams do this sometimes. Like, hey, man, you want to be here? You got to make them. You got to make them want you gone. And unfortunately, the only way sometimes to make somebody want you gone so badly they'll take a lesser offer from Pittsburgh, let's say, is to piss them off. Sometimes that is the business of it all. All right, I tried to be nice. I tried to be a good guy. I wanted you to trade me. You're not doing it. So I have to be a dick now, right? Like that is logical. But this whole thing, from you go back and watch the Pivot interview, there are things that he says in that interview that are not, they contradict each other. So that might be his course of action here, right? Trying to get traded. But my perception, it's that it's not as it's not. I don't know that it's quite as meticulous as this. But again, if it gets you traded to Pittsburgh, where you want to be, because they just have had enough, which Kyle Kami tweeted this yesterday. I think it's correct. It's like, there's no reason to do that right now, especially when Ricky Pearsall just got hurt in practice on Tuesday. How severe, we'll see. But if that's the outcome, then, what's the saying? All's fair in love and war. Like, whatever it takes for you to win the game. Mike Silver goes on to write, suddenly Shanahan's offense appears unnervingly vulnerable, and it would look a lot better with Aiyuk back in the fold. Agreed. Silver now. Barring a change in organizational thinking, that's not likely to happen. Oh, this begs the question. If the Niners didn't want to pay Aiyuk market value, which is their prerogative, why didn't they deal him before the draft? That way they would have acquired a pick or picks to be used on players who could have helped them in 2024. Right. Agreed. No doubt about it. He is correct about that. And it will be a situation if they trade him for 75, for 50, for 80, 90 cents on the dollar, which is what happens in August. They'll, I think, be kicking themselves for a long time, unless that pick that they use or that player they get turns out to, help them win a Super Bowl. That said, well, let me read this last passage and then I'll give you a thought. To get the deal they want, however, the Niners need to get Aiyuk to go along with it. That's the harsh reality of the situation. The war of wills continues. Those who expected Aiyuk to be a pushover may want to rethink that assessment. Okay. Well, it doesn't make sense. If you're going to trade him for Amari Cooper, it makes sense, like, you have urgency. If you're going to trade him for a pick to the Steelers, there is no urgency. Unless you just want him out of the building, right? Which is the frustration. But if you're going to trade him for a second, you can let him. You could just let him. Now, this is where, if he's doing things that bother Shanahan, it's smart. Like, I'm going to show up and bother you. Ban me from the building, then. Right? Ban me from the building. It's the genius of a hold-in. You can act in a way that gets you traded better than if you're a holdout and you're kind of out of sight, out of mind. But trading him for a second or a third or whatever it is, trading him to Pittsburgh for a pick and not a player, you don't need to do that on August 6th. That is a last-ditch, desperate, final, horrible outcome and situation, right? So, I think there's this feeling, and we don't know all the numbers. Silver's put some stuff out there on what the numbers might be. And actually, he says it in this piece. Let me go back to it because I think this is an important. Did I pull that part of this here? Because that's important on what the offer is. But I think whatever. We've seen some ideas of what a 49ers offer is from an APY standpoint. What we have not seen is any idea of what the guaranteed dollar is, which is definitely more important to the 49ers. Now, we know when Jeremy Fowler did his wide receiver ranks the other day that A.J. Brown came in 6th, Amon-Ra St. Brown came in 7th, Mike Evans 8th, Stephon Diggs 9th, and Brandon Aiyuk came in 10th. Now, you may think that Brandon Aiyuk is better than Amon-Ra St. Brown. He may be. I've said at the time, I don't think it's crazy for somebody to think that Amon-Ra St. Brown is better than Brandon Aiyuk. But however you look at it, they're really close. Amon-Ra St. Brown's contract is $120 million in total value. Over the course of 4 years, it's 27 point. I'm sorry. Over the course of 4 years, it's 30. Let me do some basic math. It's $30 million per year. That's a good number. His total guarantee is $77 million. That's also a good number. That total guarantee, that is the 4th highest total guarantee among NFL receivers. Justin Jefferson 110, A.J. Brown 84, DJ Moore 82.6, and Amon-Ra St. Brown 77. DJ Moore's annual value is less than Amon-Ra's at 27.5. So you could quibble over which contract you'd rather have. But when we saw that DJ Moore contract the other day, the first thought is like, that's probably like what Ayuk's contract would be. And so I could understand, the Niners are getting hammered. And if they trade him, they will get rightfully criticized. Be clear about that. But they're getting hammered on what people think the contract is based only on what they view the APY as. But it's very possible. And it makes sense that Amon-Ra St. Brown and Brandon Aiyuk are viewed generally as comparable. I said this the other day, and I'll say it again. I think if we polled the league, I think it'd be in Amon-Ra's favor, but there would definitely be people who would value Aiyuk a little more. But it goes to reason that even as the receiver market exploded and Justin Jefferson got 110 and A.J. Brown got 84 and 32 per year, that the Niners offer could not be far off from Amon-Ra St. Brown's offer. With a straight face, you can't have an offer out there that's less than Amon-Ra St. Brown's. Now, you may say, well, we're not going to A.J. Brown's 32, but it'll be very interesting. If he does a deal with the Niners or if he does a deal with somebody else, what starts trickling out and what kind of contract he gets. And what he values, right? We hear a lot that players sometimes value the APY more than they should when they guarantee dollars, blah, 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 blah. My guess is that his total guarantee would have to put him in the very close range or maybe a little bit ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown. It has to. Even if you're offering him something that he views as disrespectful, you just if you have any sense of the market, you've got to be in that range. You just have to be. So I think like when you look at what Silver just wrote and you look at what Mayoko wrote yesterday, and Silver writes, Shanahan is bothered by this. Yeah, I mean, believe that. But my point in that whole diatribe about Mac Jones is don't overweight the bro hugs and wonder to yourself, what else is there? All right. I'm getting some messages from you guys. I haven't seen this on X. I'm looking on X. Oh, okay. Here we go. We do have an update. Matt Mayoko, 15 minutes ago. Schefter 17 minutes ago, and then Aiyuk. After inquiring about Brandon Aiyuk's availability, the Patriots have decided not to explore any further trade possibilities with the 49ers regarding their standout wide receiver. The Patriots are excited about their young receivers and want to focus on them. The Patriots, Mayoko writes, had an agreement in place with the Niners and a large offer on the table to Aiyuk, but he did not show interest in going there. That's what really makes this situation weird, is that Brandon Aiyuk wants more money, but not from just anybody. What does that mean? Well, it means that it's about the money, but it's also about something else, whether it be respect, targets. I can't say it's about winning because while Pittsburgh is definitely a very respectful organization, and maybe they feel like they're on the cusp, they don't give you a better chance at winning. Now, like every decision in your life, it's all kind of a sliding scale, right? Like this restaurant is excellent, but it's $100 per person. And this restaurant's pretty good, and it's $65 a person. And this restaurant's, okay, and it's $15 a person. What are we going to do? Well, most times you probably pick the $65 per person. So you go on a date, right? But you don't have a lot of money in your pocket. I remember years ago when I was working in local radio, 1430 ESPN radio in Fresno. And for those of you who have not worked in local radio, as I was, and I was making the salary was $26,000. But what we would also get is trade, right? I'd get coupons. Here's $15 to North India Bar and Grill. Guy, you're going to be live at North India Bar and Grill on Thursday. Here's a $15 gift certificate. You can get a little something at North India Bar and Grill while you're out there. Well, I got a gift certificate to Fleming's Steakhouse once. It was like, here's a little trade. Hey, we can't pay you for this thing, but here's $100 to Fleming Steakhouse. So I took my girlfriend to Fleming Steakhouse, and I was like, I got this $100. I have very little cash. I don't even think this is probably before I was making $26,000 a year. That didn't start till I graduated from college. This was like in college, but I was working for the radio station. I got this trade. And so we go to Fleming's, and I'm going to tell you, this is like before you just got online and checked the menu of every place you went. So we roll into Fleming's, and I have to tell you, your boy started doing the math really quickly and realized that $100 gift certificate was not going to cover it. What does that mean? Well, the first thing that means, I got to tell you, babe, this chicken's looking pretty good. Oh, really, guy? I mean, there's like 7 steaks on the menu. Yeah, but I don't know. I've heard good things about the chicken. As you're looking, you're just like, oh, fuck, right. That's $24. What is she getting? The what? How many? You want to get 3 appetizers? Oh, yeah. No. Get whatever you want. You want something to drink? Oh, shit. And you find out real quick, like, I don't think this gift certificate is going to cover it. And then the next time you make a decision, right? So your decision is not, I want the best meal possible. You're like, I want the best meal possible in my price range. So when Aiyuk's like, oh, it's about money. Well, okay, the Patriots are offering you a lot of money. Well, but Dad, I don't want to play for the Patriots. Okay. Well, the Browns are offering money. We know they're offering money. Your agent has been given permission to talk to these teams. So we know he's talking to the Niners. Like, the Niners know what these offers are. It might be agitating if they're close on some of these. I don't know if they're close to what the Browns are offering. But all right, fine. We'll do a deal. We'll do a deal with the Browns. Well, I don't want the Browns' money. All right. Well, whose money do you want? I want Washington's money. Well, Washington doesn't want to do this deal. Okay, well, I want Pittsburgh's money. Okay, well, Pittsburgh doesn't have anything for us. They don't. But Joey Porter Jr. in a third. Well, they don't want to do that deal. So what are we going to do? Why do you want to go to Pittsburgh anyway? What's in Pittsburgh? What is it? Can we find out what is in Pittsburgh? Why does he want to go to Pittsburgh? What is the deal with Pittsburgh? So where this ends, I mean, you know, I said this on Monday. It's always darkest before the dawn. Somebody, and this is the way these things happen, is like everyone's compromising here. Nick Bosa talked today, and he said he's talked to Aiyuk a couple of times, but you know, it didn't go too deep in depth. Bosa is insightful, like really insightful. And I wonder, did he tell Brandon, like, hey, Brandon, just wait, just chill. Eventually, they'll be forced to pay you. But the reality is, the guy that holds the Niners over the barrel right now is Trent Williams. That's the guy they're freaking out about. That's the guy they're freaking out about. Comment, he likes the Steelers coach. He likes the Raiders coach. I mean, that's it. He tweeted at him once, and so he wants to go there to play for Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin doesn't even call plays. Mike Tomlin, actually, he's got a good offensive coordinator now. They got Russell Wilson. Why does he want to go to Pittsburgh? To play with his dad. That's my favorite answer every time I ask that question. Why does he want to go to Pittsburgh? To play with his dad. Yeah. I know. Hey, before we go on, I want to tell you that I'm brought to you in part by CIRCA Contest, the biggest pro football contest in Vegas. CIRCA Survivor, you pick one game per week, not against the spread, straight up. Whoever goes undefeated the longest wins $1,000 to enter that one. And then there's CIRCA Million, $6 million in guaranteed prizes. That's $1,000 per entry. You pick 5 teams against the spread every week. Whoever does the best wins the top prize at the end. Whoever does the dead worst gets $100,000 in booby prize. The CIRCA Survivor last year was a $9.2 million pot. This year, to the winner, not to the winner. This year, it's a minimum $10 million guaranteed to the winner. You enter Nevada, either in Vegas or Reno Sparks. Sign up with a proxy there. Play from anywhere. For more information, visit circasports.com and click on contest. That's circasports.com and click on contest. If he's trying to rile him up, it's working. If Kyle Shanahan's mad, which is what Silver wrote, then we are officially at a bad situation. But I think if you read, kind of look between some of the lines here, they would have traded him to places he doesn't want to go. I think Mayoko's report yesterday was in like the history of trade reports was really interesting. They have 2 deals done. If you have negotiated deals with not one, but 2 other teams, then you are ready to trade the guy. You know, we talked about this Monday, and I've thought about it more, and you hear more what's out there and what's not. And I thought Monday night that was just a bluff by John Lynch to get Brandon Aiyuk to panic or to get the Steelers to pay up. But you negotiate with 2 teams. You get trades agreed to with 2 teams. 2 teams have made contract offers that if it gets to the point that it got to last night, where it's like the ball is quote unquote in his court, that means that those 2 teams are making good contract offers, right? So I think you have to believe that the Browns and the Patriots made the kind of contract offer that he would take in a heartbeat from a place he wants to be. So does he want to be here anymore? And if not, how badly does he want out? What's he willing to do? Because if they're not going to get what they want back, this is not like the draft where the first round's coming up. If we're going to do a deal, we got to do it now. By the time the first round passes, the second round passes, we're not getting any picks. It's over. Right? That moment is past. Now we don't get a player that helps us this year. The urgency, the only way to make the 49ers feel like there is an urgent deadline, as I'm sure they've told Aiyuk at one point in time that there was. But the only way to do that is to make it emotional. And it sounds like that's what he's done successfully. You probably can get under Shanahan's skin easier than you can get under John Lynch's skin, for the simple reason that when you're in the building and you're going to meetings and you're walking out to practice, like that's Kyle Shanahan's practice, and those are Kyle Shanahan's meetings. John says, John C. Steelers know that he only wants to play for them. So all they have to do is wait for the Niners to fold and take a week deal. That's correct. That's a very good point, right? If Aiyuk is telling them, I am not taking this Browns contract, so they cannot trade me to the Browns, and the Pats are out, then the Steelers don't really have to do anything. Melissa, guy, it's not up to anyone but Shanahan to determine the legitimacy of his being bothered. Being bothered is a feeling, and no one gets to decide anyone else's feelings. That is very good insight, Melissa. I believe that. Kyle was asked today, what was this answer? This was a good question and answer. Let me see if I can find this audio real quick. He was asked, Shanahan, I want you to hear this, because that's Karen's comment here. Let me see if I can find this answer. I mean, I can find it real quick. This is from Kyle Shanahan's press conference today. I think it was the last question he was asked. If somebody technical wants to tell me how to make it so I can share audio and a screen share and solve this problem quicker in the future, that'd be great.
Some injuries and stuff.
Let me find you this here.
I'll go to Wisnowski in a few days.
As you said, the financial part of it, but
we'll have to figure out something for the game.
As a coach, obviously you want, I'm assuming you prefer just Brandon Aiyuk is on the field and taken care of contractually. Obviously, I know you don't ignore the financial part of it, but I mean, I don't know how frustrating is it? I think, as you said, you're a better team when he's here. You probably don't want him to not be here. I guess, what's the frustration level and your emotions as you've gone through this?
Calculated and prepared. I mean, you want everybody out there. And frustrated guys are hurt and can't get out there. All you want to do is practice and get ready for the tough season that's ahead. But you also truly understand the business side of our league and what these guys do and put themselves through and what they have to go through in these deals. So whether it's a hold in or whether it's a hold out, I mean, this stuff is pretty common, and you just got to be patient with it as a coach. It's a tough season.
What's the frustration, the financial part of it? But
I'm going to play just the beginning of this answer.
I don't know how frustrating.
Here is the answer.
I think, as you said, you're a better team when he's here. You probably don't want him to not be here. I guess, what's the frustration level and your emotions as you've gone through?
So he's asked, what are your emotions? And he lists two things that are not emotions.
Calculated and prepared.
Calculated and prepared, as in I knew you were going to ask me that question, and I'm not going to show any emotion. He's trying not to show any emotion there. But when he says this is, this is the league, this is business, that's true. And I think he's trying to play it straight. But situations like this, players hold in all the time. This is pretty weird. Like if you're thinking like, I don't know, I think this one's actually pretty weird. You're right. This is weird, right? Having multiple trades set up for a player who you've offered a contract to and want to sign, or at least did want to sign at some point. That's not normal. Comment. BA wants his cake and to eat it too. He wants to be sent to a contender, but also be paid $30 million a year. Doesn't work that way. You don't think teams will hold a horrible season against him? They will. Who are you referring to? I take it Aiyuk. It would be weird to have him play in his fifth-year option. On paper, I know I've said it makes sense. I said that months ago. This has gotten pretty emotional. And I think the logic that I've used is, well, if he's playing on his 5th-year option, he's playing a contract year. Sounds great when I say it, but when you really think about like how does that actually look? A guy, I'm going to do air quotes, being held hostage for $14 million. It may look bad, and he may bother people like the coach, and maybe it would be bad for the locker room. Comment: if Trent did not do this, BA would be signed. I think Trent threw the talks in a tailspin money-wise for the Niners. I don't think that's the case. No. I don't think they're related in that way. Now, did Aiyuk get upset when Christian McCaffrey got paid? Not the type of money he's looking for, but it was like, wait a second. Wait, what? What did he get paid? Okay. Super chat from Andrew. $1.99. Oh, Andrew used his $2 to say, don't forget to both like and subscribe. If they haven't spoken with BA's agent since May, maybe BA was telling the truth when he said, quote, they don't want me back. There is no way they haven't spoken with the agent since May. They've spoken with the agent. Chris Hansen. Oh, no. Says Rams are tough. If you're the Rams, the Seahawks, or the Cardinals, right now you're looking at the 49ers going, oh, my God. We can win this division. Like the Rams definitely think they can win the division. Mike McDonald and the Seahawks definitely think they can win the division. And the Cardinals think like we can sneak up on all these guys. The Cardinals are going to be better. The Niners walking to the NFC West title is those days are done. The Rams were down. The Seahawks were capped, and the Cardinals were in the dumps. Well, the Seahawks may have found a little more ceiling. Right? I'm a big Pete Carroll guy, but over the last few years, like they've just had a ceiling. Well, now with Mike McDonald, and we'll see with the new offensive coordinator from the University of Washington, who is very interesting. You got to think they're going to be better, and without losing their physicality. And then on top of that, the Cardinals got a good coach, and their quarterback's healthy now. Look, the Niners offer is still there. Now, it's not like he can just pull up the DocuSign, sign it, send it in. If he takes the Niners offer, I think when you read Silver's article, if he calls the Niners and says, all right, you know what? Change of heart, I'll take your contract. Let's just say. Reading Silver's article, I think one thing is clear that there is some fence mending that would have to happen. They'd have to have a sit down. But yes, he can. Yeah, I don't think they've rescinded their offer. They have not rescinded. I mean, I don't think I have the clip here, but Mayoko said today, like, yeah, they can still get something done. Let's see what else we got here, people. Russell is washed. Why would Aiyuk want to play with him? It is unclear at this point why Brandon Aiyuk wants to play for the Steelers. Other than pretending that's his dad? Comment from Sugar Wolf. I don't understand how BA can possibly have leverage when the worst case scenario is he gets franchise tagged and just not play. Well, that's next year. This year he can't get tagged. This year he's already on the 5th-year option. So his leverage is that he can make it miserable for them. Howard answers my question of why does he want to go to Pittsburgh with players coach Tomlin. That seems like a weird thing to chase. But But if it's that, then the question becomes, well, what's his problem? Why does he have a problem with Shanahan? What's wrong with him and Kyle? What happened? What's going on there? I mean, you go back to some of the frustrations some of the grievances that were aired after the Super Bowl. But probably feeling like you're a guy that should have 90 catches or 100 catches and not 73 catches. But if it's about playing for Shanahan, then it means it's about not playing, or it's about playing for Tomlin. It means it's about not playing for Shanahan. Daniel says, deep down, I don't believe he respects Shanahan, but he respects Tomlin. Could be. That could be. It may not be that deep down. Someone said, ask Chat GPT. Okay. It's not usually the kind of thing Chat GPT answers. That's not going to give anything good here. Brandon Aiyuk has shown interest. However, competent. Yeah, nothing. Sorry. Any chance Washington comes back to the table now? Well, I think it's a double whammy for Washington in that they don't have, they're not willing to trade the 49ers what the Niners would want. And they don't need to do it. And I don't know financially where they're at, but financially they may not have the interest in going there. Right. But it's like, well, they've got Terry McLaurin, who they love, captain, stud. That's who the Niners would want. Well, they're trying to run a franchise there. They don't need to just do, they got Luke McCaffrey. They don't need to just do what would make Jaden Daniels happy. So, I mean, there's really, to me, the fit with Washington's weird. They drafted a receiver. They have Terry McLaurin. Why do they need to go pay Brandon Aiyuk top receiver money? They don't need to. They got a vet. They got a young guy. They're in good shape. So, I mean, like, unless Adam Peters, who was with the Niners, was in love with Brandon Aiyuk and wanted to ship out Terry McLaurin for Brandon Aiyuk, which he has shown no interest in doing, then it's really not. I understand why Aiyuk would want to go there, I guess, but it's really not it just doesn't add. It doesn't fit. Super chat from Matthew. Matthew, thanks for the 5 spot. USD. Aiyuk showed in the Super Bowl he isn't great at getting open himself. Are we sure he's a 90 catch receiver without Kyle drawing up plays? Yeah, I mean, now I think his feeling coming out of the Super Bowl was not I don't get open. It was you didn't give me the ball. I thought he was open. Comment, I'm seeing reports about the Raiders. Is that true too? I don't think so. But if you had the chance to trade him for Devontae Adams, you do that yesterday. Because even his teammates were like, oh, we just traded. We got Devontae. Yeah, you do that deal. Matthew, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Here's a comment from Jordan. Jordan says, Kawakami said today this is ridiculous and stems from Parag trying to win every negotiation. Well, if Tim said that, I put a lot of stock in it. I mean, we've seen that history with the Niners. That's where people have asked me, you guys remember when I had the worst voice you've ever heard? I do. People have asked me, well, is this bad for the locker room? The hold-in is not bad for the locker room because there's enough guys in that locker room, whether it's Bosa, Trent's not there, but Bosa, Trent, maybe McCaffrey to a degree, but not as much. Certainly Kittle, Fred Warner, who else would fit this bill? We'll find out soon with Deommodore Lenoir and Mooney Ward. But there's enough Debo. There's enough guys that have dealt with Parag, right? Who has a great reputation as a negotiator and gets good deals. But I think there's enough guys in the locker room that understand that dynamic that don't hold it against Aiyuk for wanting a little more money or whatever, however they view it. Where it can become a problem in the locker room is if he becomes a problem in the locker room, right? So if he's got a bad relationship with Kyle Shanahan, going back to the Mike Silver report, now that is where you begin to have a problem. But I don't think you have a problem for the most part in the NFL from a guy holding in, because just look around. Like, there are other guys who are viewed as real leaders, right? Like, of that team, leaders, bigger leaders than him, who have contract situations with the 49ers where it takes a long time and they're not happy or they're offended or pissed off or whatever. You know, Debo's a good example. And if you watch Debo now, you would never know that there'd ever been a problem. Like, he looks like a guy that's not going anywhere, really, when you watch him. He seems like he's in a really good space. So, yeah, anyway, I know that's come up a lot, but yes, they can be a problem. If he's planning on a 5th-year option, you're like, oh, they won the deal, and they'll trade him next year, tag him, whatever. But, you know, they only win the deal if he's delivering as a player. Question: with Pearsall's potential injury, BA will be welcomed back with open arms, in my opinion. Well, that assumes that Pearsall was viewed as a replacement for Brandon Aiyuk, and he's not. At least not yet. He is not viewed that way. I don't think they view him that way. I do not think they view him that way. There's a lot of debate. Like, did the Niners, what did they think they were getting? They did not think they were getting a guy who was about to replace Brandon Aiyuk or Deebo Samuel this year. If they thought they had a guy that could do that, they would have traded one of those guys, first of all, and they would not have tried to trade out of the first round. They said themselves that they tried to trade out of the first round. So, you know, they don't view him that way. Then he shows up. He's not healthy immediately. Off-season injury when camp starts, or away from the team injury when camp starts, hammy. What have I said for a week and a half? I think Ricky Pearsall's floor is fine. Now, you know, side note, when you draft a first-round receiver, you don't want to talk about his floor, but okay, put that aside for a second. I think his floor is fine. I think he was going to be ready to be a solid, but by no stretch prolific contributor this year as an ancillary complementary piece to one of the most talented, if not the most talented offense in the NFL. Now, all I asked, it's not doing this on purpose. All I said that was important for him, because I felt he had a baseline level of ability, talent, and preparedness to contribute, was that he had to stay healthy. And to no fault of his own, he got hurt today. I saw it. I think I might have been the only person that saw it. Maybe somebody else saw it and has said they've seen it. It's not because I have some eagle eye. I just happen to be looking in the right place at the right time. You try to look where everybody isn't. And right after he caught a 60-yard touchdown, I'm sure I wasn't the only person that saw it. Well, I shouldn't say I'm sure, because I was. Anyway, it's a stupid thing to even say. It doesn't matter if you're the only one that saw it. It was lucky that I saw it. But he catches like a 60-yard over route touchdown on Deommodore Lenoir. Great throw, great catch, Purdy. Then he's in there blocking, and there's a huge crowd of people, and he comes out of there, and he blocks hard in practice. He comes out of there like kind of shaking his arm, and you can tell he's in pain. And he goes running. The team was in team drill, which means all the players are lined up like behind the offense. You've seen that. And he goes to the trainer, and he's back there, and he goes behind where everybody is, and they're looking at him, and they're working on him. And afterwards, I asked Kyle Shanahan about it. This is what he said.
Yeah, he tweets his shoulder, something that he did in OTAs. I don't know if it's too serious, but that's why we removed him halfway.
That's why he removed him from practice. He missed the last 40 minutes of practice. So anyway, we'll see on Wednesday if he's back out there. I'd expect him not to be. Too bad. I mean, they got they had a game this week, right? Like he was about to get some reps. And the fact that it was an injury that already occurred in practice previously means that maybe now they have to hold him out extra long because it was something that maybe they thought he could get through and didn't. His ceiling is Cole Beasley. Look, I'll say this. If you've got a team of Debo, Aiyuk, Kittle, McCaffrey, blah, 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 Cole Beasley's pretty helpful. Comment, is it possible Pearsall will be the kick return guy this year after the loss of Ray and the new kickoff situation? Yeah. But there's 9 other guys that are trying out there too. KJ says, with Aiyuk holding in, it gives Gray, Bell, Pearsall, Cowing, Owens, and Conley more opportunities to build rapport with Purdy. Well, Gray's hurt, Pearsall's hurt, Cowing's hurt, Owens ain't making the team. Okay, and Conley. Gray was in a blue jersey today that said, do not touch. Cowing's coming back from a hamstring. Pearsall's got a shoulder. In theory, this makes sense. Trying to win a championship here. We're talking about like the receiving core of a 6-win team right there. Conley's a nice piece. He helps. Comment, Trent Taylor becomes receiver opposite of Debo. Ha ha. Well, ha ha. What do you mean ha ha? As it stands right now, your receivers are Debo, Jennings, there's 2. Just healthy guys that are full go in practice. Ronnie Bell, Chris Conley, there's 4. Trent Taylor, there's 5. Maybe if Danny Gray's out of the blue jersey tomorrow, there's 6. Not an elite receiving group. Lyle with a comment that says, the Aiyuk thing is weird because everyone thinks the Steelers won't have to make a good offer. But if the Niners think they're fine without Aiyuk, they can just not trade him until they get a good offer. That's true, which is why perhaps one theory would be to push the Niners to trade him. You push Kyle Shanahan. I mean, that's when you're kind of out of moves, then you go emotion. What happened to Tay Martin? Tay Martin's back. Just came back. Christian McCaffrey, strained calf. Elijah Mitchell, hamstring. Mitch Wishnowsky, knee irritation. Trent Williams, I don't know. Calling it a career, maybe? Would Trent Williams just retire? Assad says, man, that Mike Silver article where he says Kyle Shanahan is pissed at Aiyuk is very telling. You know, it occurs to me, Assad, pissed at Aiyuk, ... again. We've come full circle back to Aiyuk's rookie year. That's true, Assad. If you're just joining, some of you on the podcast, if you're listening, already heard it. If you're watching this video, I went kind of paragraph by paragraph through a lot of the important points of the Silver article at the beginning of this YouTube. So you can also go back and check that out. A lot of you are here right now. Thank you. Hit that like button and also subscribe. Appreciate that very much. I'll be back out at Niners practice on Wednesday, and we'll see what's going on out there. I don't think I missed any other super chats. Hopefully I did not. But yeah. Well, again, as I said on Monday night on the stream that didn't make it on the podcast, this is going to be on the podcast feed. For better or worse, whether you like this or not, it has created a little bit of a jump start here to the season on YouTube, which is fun. It's fun for you guys to come hang out and for me to answer some of your questions and get into some of this stuff. I saw a question back at the very beginning of this. Somebody asked if R. Stuckey, sometimes not all the comments show up here in my feed on the side. Said, are you planning on doing any podcasts about the Big Ten since you're announcing some games? I'd be interested in listening while I slowly die at work. No current plans to do that, but it has crossed my mind to do a separate kind of Big Ten centric thing. I'll sprinkle a little bit here. You know, what you get is what you came for. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of you guys like college football. Right now, this is the story. Comment, camp was supposed to be boring this year. Well, it's not. Aiyuk is a deep threat. Niners don't throw deep much. They'll be fine without him. I mean, 18 yards a catch? Maybe they will be fine without him, but whew, it's going to take some work. That's not going to be easy. You know, go back and watch. Last night after the stream, I went back and on my feed, there was the first Monday night game between the Vikings and the Packers, which was just a absolute gun show between Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Absolute rockets. Like, I know a lot of people saw that video because it had, I don't know, like it must have been going around this week. Somebody else brought up, like, did you see? I was thinking about Jared Allen. Like, Jared Allen had 4.5 sacks in that game. But that game was a great example of, like, we had these discussions about, like, why is it always about the big arm quarterback? Go watch the highlight of Favre, Rodgers, Monday Night Football, Favre's first game against the Packers as a Viking in Minnesota. It is a display of why arm strength matters. It's not the whole thing, but it's a display. Then I watched like a 7-minute cut up on my phone of Packers Niners. And Aiyuk has an incredible catch in that game, late, trailing, over the middle, dude on his back. You thought, like, no way is he catching that ball. So I do think we can get a little carried away with, well, does Aiyuk really this? Does he really that? I can just replace him with Amari's production and blah, blah, blah. He's being weird. He's pissing Kyle off. Yeah, I mean, Super Bowl aside, I know people go to the Super Bowl. There's a lot of evidence of a lot of games where this dude steps up big. You know, I'm not quite the Amari Cooper expert that I am on Brandon Aiyuk, or I'm not quite the Amari expert. I've watched a good amount of his career, a lot of his career. He played for the Cowboys. They're on TV a lot. I watched him all the time when he was on the Raiders. Raider guy was super into him. Raider guy loved him, by the way. It's a different person than me, alter ego. If you're not aware of this, sometimes I'll make very pro-Raider comments like, the Raiders can't lose to Easton Stick in the Chargers week one. There's no way they're losing that game. That's Raider guy who says that. Some people send me comments like, man, you're in for a rough year. It's like, no, believe me, I'm not. But you can't just look at the box score and go, oh, we're just taking, just take that guy, plug him into that guy's spot, and it's going to be fine. Not always that easy. And I don't think it's that easy with Aiyuk. Aiyuk is complicated in the same way that Brock is complicated, in that, like, people love to go extremes when the reality is, Aiyuk is not a tier 1 blue chip A1 Tyreek, Devontae, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. He's not that guy. But there's something to be said for a very productive player who also is reliable in big games. That's a very unique thing too. And you don't need Tyreek Hill to win championships. The Dolphins have him. They haven't. The Chiefs don't. They did. So you could argue, well, then you don't need Aiyuk either. Well, maybe you can get away without it. But you need somebody to catch the ball from this quarterback. And it's not always going to be because you were able to pitch it to Debo or swing it to McCaffrey, or the coach could just get anybody open. It doesn't always work that way. You don't always get the guy open. Tony Yayo, back from the G unit, to say, I can't wait for Dak to leave the team to Trey Lance. Trey Lance is Dak's greatest negotiation tactic. He is every pass he throws makes Dak Prescott a little more money. Man. All right. That's that for this. Thanks for hanging, everybody. Appreciate you very much. Be back again. Who knows when? I say Wednesday, but maybe it'll be later tonight. I don't know. God, I hope not. But hit that like, subscribe. If you're on the podcast, leave a 5-star review. Apple Podcast, that helps a lot. Thanks. You can leave a question in there as well. But